The night Khabib Nurmagomedov choked out Conor McGregor at UFC 229, he wasn't just winning a fight. The cameras didn't catch it, but there was only one person who saw Abdulmanap's tears as he watched his son succeed. Because Abdulmanap knew that night his son wasn't just proving his own victory, he was proving a 1,000-year-old Dagestani tradition to the world. But the real story started way before that night, in the snowy mountains, with a 6-year-old kid running barefoot through the cold. And the secret that kid learned would create modern MMA's greatest legend. Look, Dagestan isn't just some place on a map. It's like a warrior factory. This is where fighters are born, raised, and molded into absolute killers. Born in 1988 in this tiny village called Sildi, Khabib's earliest memory was his dad dragging him out into a snow-covered yard and saying, "Son, life's gonna hit you hard. You better hit back harder." Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov wasn't your typical gym trainer. This dude was one of the last true masters of the Soviet wrestling system. But more than that, he was basically the guardian of Dagestan's ancient warrior DNA. In Dagestan, they've got this thing called palavanlik. It's not just about wrestling, it's a whole way of life. Being a palawan means you're not just physically tough, you've got mental strength, moral backbone, and you take care of your community. During World War II, the Soviet military needed a fighting system that actually worked in real combat. So they took judo, wrestling, and these brutal Caucasus mountain fighting techniques and created Sambo. Sambo literally means samozashchita bez orужия, fighting without weapons. But in Dagestan, this word meant something deeper. Honor is in the fight. But the Sambo Khabib learned wasn't your regular textbook stuff. When Khabib was just 6 years old, his father made him wrestle with an actual bear cub. Yeah, you heard that right. A real freaking bear. The whole point was to make fear completely disappear from the kid's mind. Abdulmanap's training philosophy was built on 3 core ideas. Every technique had to be drilled thousands of times until it became muscle memory. Khabib would do single-leg takedowns 500 times every single day. Every morning at 5 a.m., he'd wake up and work on just this one move for 2 straight hours. Running barefoot through snow in Dagestan's brutal winters. This wasn't just physical conditioning, it was mental warfare against yourself. Learning to push through cold, pain, and exhaustion when your body screams at you to quit. Win but don't show off. Lose but never give up. That was Abdulmanap's favorite saying, and he lived by it. While other kids were playing video games, Khabib was out in the mountains tracking bears, eagles, and wild boars. His father taught him, nature is your best teacher. Animals are the ultimate fighters. Watching how bears swipe with their massive paws, that's where Khabib's famous mauling style was born. And studying how eagles grab and never let go of their prey, that became his ground control game. When he entered his first Sambo tournament at 8, the refs were absolutely shocked. This little kid was grabbing opponents like a bear cub and just would not let go. But the real game changer happened when he turned 12. At 12, Khabib got put into this special training program his father created called System 29. The 29 was Dagestan's area code. This was their hometown pride. 5 a.m., mental meditation and breathing exercises. 6 a.m., mountain running, 6+ miles in thin air. 8 a.m., technical Sambo training for 2 hours straight. 12 p.m., functional strength training, no fancy gym equipment. 5 p.m., live sparring with real opponents. 7 p.m., team strategy and mental preparation. This wasn't just Khabib's schedule. Every kid in the Dagestan camp followed this routine. And look what it produced. DC Cormier, Islam Makhachev, Zubaira Tukugov, and a whole army of killers. Dr. Alexei Volkov from Moscow Sports Institute studied the Dagestani method and found some crazy numbers. Dagestani wrestlers' grip strength, average 120 pounds per square inch. Normal people hit about 75 psi. Cardiovascular capacity, 340% better, VO2 max than regular athletes. Reaction time, 0.12 seconds. Elite athletes, usually hit 0.18 seconds. Core strength, 280% stronger abs than regular fighters. These aren't random numbers. High-altitude training forces your body to adapt to low oxygen. Extreme cold training rewires your metabolism. It's like creating super soldiers, but naturally. But Khabib's real weapon wasn't his body, it was his mind. When Khabib showed up in the UFC in 2012, nobody knew who this guy was. His first fight against Pat Healy, American experts were saying, "This Russian kid won't last against real American athletes." Boy, were they wrong. From his very first fight, Khabib showed he was operating on a different level. He'd take guys down and just completely smother them. It wasn't just wrestling, it was like watching a predator play with its food. UFC commentators called it lay and pray at first, but they quickly realized this wasn't lying around doing nothing. This was actively breaking opponents mentally and physically. After winning his first 10 fights, Joe Rogan said it best. "This guy fights like he's from another planet." UFC 229 wasn't just two fighters going at it. This was a full-blown culture war. Dagestan's ancient honor code versus Ireland's modern showmanship. Conor McGregor was the king of trash talk. Mental warfare, mind games, psychological pressure. Khabib was quiet, respectful, but you could see the fire burning inside. At the press conference before the fight, when McGregor said, "Your father's a coward," that crossed a line you don't cross in Dagestani culture. Disrespecting someone's father is basically declaring war on their entire bloodline. The build-up to this fight was absolutely insane. McGregor threw a dolly through a bus window in Brooklyn, injuring other fighters. He mocked Khabib's religion, his culture, his family. Every insult was designed to get under Khabib's skin. But here's what Conor didn't understand. In Dagestan, pressure doesn't break you, it turns you into a diamond. The more you try to hurt a Dagestani fighter mentally, the more dangerous they become. That night in the octagon, it wasn't just Khabib fighting. It was like the entire spirit of Dagestan was channeled through his fists. Remember that vicious overhand right Khabib landed in the second round? That wasn't just a punch. That was 1,000 years of mountain warrior fury compressed into one perfect shot. The precision, the timing, the raw emotion behind it. Pure Dagestani warfare. Khabib's fighting style got nicknamed mauling because that's exactly what it looked like. A bear tearing apart its prey. Chain wrestling. If one takedown failed, he'd immediately flow into the next one. Cage wrestling. He'd pin you against the fence and just grind you down. Ground and pound, vicious strikes from dominant positions. Submission chains, linking submission attempts together seamlessly. But what really set Khabib apart wasn't just technique, it was his freaky cardio. Most fighters are dead tired after 2 rounds of heavy wrestling. Khabib looked like he was just getting warmed up. His conditioning wasn't normal human levels. While other fighters were gasping for air, Khabib was talking to his opponents, telling them they were going to lose. This was the result of all those mountain runs in thin air, those brutal training sessions in freezing temperatures. In his final fight against Justin Gaethje, Khabib's triangle choke was poetry in motion. 18 years of Sambo mastery executed to perfection. But more than that, it was the culmination of a lifetime dedicated to being the absolute best. But the most heartbreaking moment in MMA history was about to happen. In 2020, during the COVID pandemic, Khabib Nurmagomedov passed away. For Khabib, this wasn't just losing his father. He lost his coach, his mentor, his life guide, and his best friend all in one person. After submitting Justin Gaethje at UFC 254, Khabib left his gloves in the center of the octagon. "My mother wants me to stop fighting. Without my father, this journey cannot continue," he said through tears. At that moment, it wasn't just a champion retiring. An entire era of mixed martial arts was ending. The last connection to that old-school, honor-based fighting philosophy was walking away. Today in Dagestan, hundreds of young fighters are following the path Khabib carved out. Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, Belal Muhammad, they're all products of the same system. The Eagles MMA camp that Abdulmanap built is now one of the most respected training facilities in the world. But what they're teaching isn't just fighting techniques, it's a complete life philosophy. Here's what's absolutely insane. The success rate is through the roof. Almost every fighter who comes out of this system becomes a legitimate contender. That's not accident. That's the systematic approach Abdulmanap created. The camp runs like a military operation. Discipline, respect, brotherhood. No egos, no drama, no social media nonsense. Just pure dedication to becoming the best version of yourself. Watching these young Dagestani fighters, you can see Khabib's DNA in every single move. The same relentless pressure, the same quiet confidence, the same unbreakable will. Khabib didn't just win fights, he completely changed how people think about fighting. Before Khabib, wrestling was often seen as the boring part of MMA. After Khabib, it became high art. His influence goes way beyond just technique. He proved you can be a champion without trash talk, without controversy, without selling your soul. In a sport full of wild personalities and fake drama, Khabib stayed true to his values and still became the biggest star. Guys, Khabib's story isn't just about one incredible fighter's journey to the top. This is about a culture, a tradition, and a father's ultimate gift to his son. The Sambo techniques learned in those brutal Dagestan mountains created a legend in the modern UFC. But the real power wasn't in the moves. It was in the character those mountains built. Khabib taught us something profound. True strength comes from humility. Real freedom comes from discipline. Victory means nothing without respect. If you dug this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into fighting legends. Drop a comment and let me know which Dagestani techniques you want to see broken down next. Coming up next, we're diving into Anderson Silva's matrix-like movements and the science behind his impossible dodges. Until then, stay hungry and keep grinding.